16 law enforcement officers have been arrested in connection with the death of a civilian in police custody. The victim died at a Lenasia police station. Allegedly, he was assaulted by Soweto Visible policing officers and a private security company, VSS. Now, the other 3 civilians were also arrested for apparently violating the hard COVID-19 lockdown regulations in April 2020. All suspects in the matter are on bail. They're appeared before the Protea Magistrates Court last week. And I'm joined now by the Independent Police Investigative Directorate Spokesperson, Lizzy Suping. Lizzy, thank you very much for joining us. So am I correct, this incident happened in April 2020 when we were in the harshest period of our lockdown?
That's correct, Sally. It happened in 2020 during that hard lockdown period. And the civilians were arrested for allegedly violating the Disaster Management Act at the time.
All right. Do you have any more details about what they were alleged to be doing when they were arrested?
Remember, we were supposed to be indoors at the time, and they were outside, and hence they were arrested. And there was an allegation that they were assaulted by the police, and they were detained at the Lenasia police station, still with injuries. And later in the evening, unfortunately, one of them passed away and was declared dead at the holding cells by the paramedics. And all 16 law enforcement officials are facing a murder charge.
Why 16 people? Just talk to me about the circumstances of this arrest, because it also involves members of private security, am I right?
The 16, all of them are facing a common purpose charge, because even if they didn't do the actual assault that led to the death of the civilian, but they were there, they were present, and whatever outcome they were expecting, they were part of that outcome that unfortunately led to the death of the civilian.
Talk to me about the assault. So you're saying that all 4 were assaulted. Where were they assaulted? Did this take place out in the open, in prison cells? What do you know about this assault?
The information we have is that they were assaulted outside of the prison, out in the community, and then they were detained at the holding cells in Lenasia police station, and that's when the deceased unfortunately passed away. So they actually died because of police action, but also he died, the deceased, while in police custody, and also due to police action. So that's why the officers are facing a murder charge.
I'm battling to understand, and perhaps you can tell us how you are being arrested for being out in the open, and we know that there were harsh clampdowns and things have gone wrong before. But what on earth could have sparked such a vicious assault that led to the death of one person? What do you know about the incident?
The incident we have is that they were assaulted at the time because they had violated the lockdown regulations. However, afterwards they were detained. Unfortunately, they were detained with injuries at the moment, and the investigation has shown that there was a common purpose towards this incident in terms of the murder charge.
I understand the man who died complained when he was in prison of a sore stomach. Is that right? Do you know exactly what led to the cause of death?
We do have the information, but we're not at liberty at this point in time to release it. The officials still have to be formally charged in court on the 12th of August. The 16 officials.
I see. So I know that obviously as IPID you investigate the police, but we also know that the police and the army were doing patrols often together during the hard lockdown. Were any members of the Defence Force involved in this?
In this specific case, it was just the SAPS members, but in other cases that we've registered, we've had situations where the Defence Force members were involved.
It's more than 2 years since this incident. Why has it taken so long to get to this point of the murder charge?
In terms of our investigation, we needed to ensure that we have substantial information before we could finalize the case and refer the docket to the DPP for a decision. And that is the reason why it took a bit of time. We needed to ensure that we've done a thorough investigation process.
We know about the very high-profile case that occurred also in the hard lockdown, and you mentioned other cases. Are you saying that there are other deaths that were suspicious in police custody during this time that you are probing?
Most of the cases that we've registered were mainly assault cases, and some of the investigation is still ongoing in terms of those cases that happened during the lockdown period.
We know that police brutality can be a problem in our country. Do you get a sense that police action during that time was harsher than normal?
I think incidences differ, and we've registered quite a lot of cases where there were assaults, and even after lockdown, we're still registering cases of assaults. So I wouldn't say that it was harsher than normal. I think it's the trend or the pattern that's been on in the country in terms of police brutality, because we've been registering different cases of assaults, and assaults are the main cause, are the main drivers for our case intake, generally nationally.
And any clue as to how this managed to escalate? Because let's face it, you could be, and people were arrested for simply being outside when they weren't supposed to because we were on lockdown orders. Any understanding of how this issue managed to escalate?
Do you mean in terms of the assault that eventually led to the death of?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to understand, you know, you could be saying to someone, listen, you're supposed to be inside. How do you go from that? You know, were they resisting arrest? I'm still battling to understand how someone who's standing outside, not where they are supposed to be, but actually not committing a typical crime that could harm someone, how it managed to escalate to the point of such a violent assault. Do you have those clues?
We don't have a clue as yet because the investigation is not fully completed, but in terms of what we have, they were allegedly assaulted.
All right. What's the next step in this case?
The officials, the 16 of them, have appeared in court on the 13th and the 15th of July, and the case was remanded to the 12th of August for an indictment.
All right. Thank you so much for chatting to us this evening. Really do appreciate it. That was IPIT spokesperson Lizzy Suping.